overtraining? I don't believe in overtraining. It's only my third session for today. Hi guys, it's Ben Seong here and welcome back to Learning with Australian Strength Performance, Learn ASP. Today's topic we're going to be talking about overtraining. Now this is a very common topic that we've all heard about, yet not many of us actually recognize the symptoms of what overtraining actually is. So today I will be talking about 5 things that you should be looking out for if you are overtrained. And if you are an individual that are overtrained, you've plateaued, you're not getting the results that you want, this video is what you guys should be looking at. Point number 1, the first thing that you might identify as being overtrained is actually checking your morning heart rate. Now you have a watch or a tracker that typically gives you your basal heart rate in the morning. Getting up first thing and identifying that your heart rate has actually jumped by about 10 beats for no apparent reason, that could potentially signify you being overtrained. Now, point number 2 that you should be considering is the concept of progressive overload. Now, this concept really is about pushing yourself to make sure that you are bettering yourself with each session that you're training. Either increasing the load, increasing the range of movement, or working on your form, something needs to be better. Often when you are overtrained, you would find that you will hit a plateau. So much so that this concept of overloading yourself actually becomes a regression. That means you are not able to progress, but instead of that, actually decrease the weights that you are lifting or not able to hit the number of reps that you are aiming for. This can often happen when you are overtrained. So if you're not tracking your weights, I think a great thing for you to do is start identifying and tracking every session that you're doing so you know that the goal is either to be improving, and if you're not improving, you potentially could be overtraining. Now, point number 3 about overtraining is actually about that motivation level. This is extremely important, especially if you're going to the gym and you're dragging yourself to actually train. Say you look forward to every single session. Say you put your mind into training hard with each session, and then you find yourself actually steering away from the gym. Now you don't want to go in. Now you're actually weary about lifting the weights. You're thinking about it and it doesn't make you feel good. Motivation towards the gym is actually a great indicator of overtraining. If you find that you've hit that plateau, then perhaps you are overtrained. Point number 4 of being overtrained is actually injury. And that is when you go into the gym and week after week, you're actually getting injured. You're getting small injuries that potentially lead to bigger injuries. Now, this could be the fact that you are headstrong in making sure that every session is good. You are pushing yourself. You go into the gym and it's go hard or go home. That's sort of a concept. And so when you keep pushing yourself to that point, your body is actually breaking down in front of you. You just need to realize it. If you're getting injured often, you potentially could be overtrained. Now, point number 5, and also a really important point that I want to point out, is about sleep. Some of you may not realize it, but overtraining can often refer to having really bad nights of sleep. That means that when you try to sleep, the quality of the sleep that you're getting is actually poor. You're not being able to sleep through. And the reason is because your nervous system is often upregulated. And so when you find yourself tossing and turning in bed, your heart rate is high, you're not able to sleep, perhaps you're getting flushes in bed as well, that potentially could also be a sign of overtraining. Okay, a restless sleep. So if you're getting restless sleep, look to see whether you are overtrained. Potentially, you could be. So after giving you guys 5 points on what would constitute overtraining, I think it's only right that we talk about the solution. And the solution is actually this, is stepping back. This solution will probably be the hardest emotional decision for a lot of you watching this, because people who often overtrain are the individuals who tell themselves they never train hard enough. Every session is a go, 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 push, 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 so much so that you hit that brick wall, and they still think at that point of time that they need to push more because their results are not showing, are not giving them what they want. Sometimes it's time where you need to pull yourself back to understand that more doesn't equal better. Sometimes it is about stepping back and understand that recovery will do you good because you are only as good as your recovery. So in saying so, a great solution for some of you that may feel that you are overtrained is actually to deload. Deloading can come in a variety of different forms. Now, if you are an athlete and you need to deload, often I like to keep the intensity as high as it was, but you drop the volume. The intensity refers to the load that you are lifting. So let's say, by the time you've plateaued, you could be deadlifting 180 kilos. Now, what do you do on the deload week if you finish at 180 kilos where you feel that you are overtrained? In the deload week, if you're an athlete, you would maintain the 180 kilos, but you would drop the volume of what you were doing. Let's say you maintain a pretty high volume prior to being overtrained. Now, in the deload week, you might want to drop the volume by about 60%, taking the volume down to about 40% while keeping the intensity high. So the session itself will become a much shorter session. If you're a bodybuilder or someone that trains with a very high volume in the gym, then a deload can often be represented in two forms. One was the way in which I spoke earlier with my athletes, where you keep the intensity, the load high, but you decrease the volume of what you were doing during that week. And the second is to actually lower the weight as well as the overall volume. So in saying so as well, it's not about maintaining the intensity, it's about actually dropping the load of what you're lifting and actually lifting a much lower volume as well. You probably do about 50 to 60% of the volume during that week itself. Now, both are strategies that I find helpful if, for example, you are not aiming to maintain strength, if your goal there is to kind of downregulate your nervous system. And remember, this really carries over into how you will perform the weeks later. So this week, even though it doesn't feel like you are doing much, you're actually doing a lot more for your system than you will realize. Now, one important point that you need to take away with this as well is the concept of refueling your body with food. A lot of people feel that in the deload week, this is a time because they're not training as hard, they need to step back and not eat as much. And this is where the misconception comes in, because during a deload, you will equally need the same amount of nutrition to help your body recover than you have prior. So it's not about actually cutting down your calories, it's about maintaining the same caloric input as you have and making sure that the foods you're putting in allows you to nourish your body for recovery. You would also realize that during this time, because your nervous system is being downregulated, you will sleep better, you will feel that your moods are better, and you also feel that you will get more motivated to train again. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video on overtraining. What I would really like to hear from you guys is if you have experienced any of the symptoms that I spoke about earlier with regards to overtraining, make sure you comment below, but also realize that overtraining does encompass a range of other symptoms that I haven't spoke about. So if you feel that you may have overtrained or are overtraining and are experiencing something else, still write them down below so we can get back to you on that. Now remember to train smart, not just hard, and I'll see you in our next YouTube video.